Okay, all right. I want to welcome everyone to our session on the finding of our research project on customer research. So Florian and I, we were the customer researchers researching customer researchers, which may be an interesting project. But we were really curious how people think about the tools they use to research customers, and we found out something very different, which we're going to talk about, and we're going to present our findings. So thanks for joining. We are very excited to kind of reveal today the study findings with you, and first and foremost, have a discussion with you about the results, and also hear about your experience, maybe working in this profession. If you have any questions, I think since we're a very small group, you just can unmute, or if you feel more comfortable using the chat box, that's fine as well. Just send us a message. The other one who's not presenting is going to monitor the chat and is going to alert the other one who's presenting to answer the question. Any questions before we get started? No? Okay. All right, then let me get going with the presentation. So it would be nice if you could use the chat box and give us a little bit of background, where you're from, what your function is, let's say years of experience working in customer research, and a fun fact, like what's your favorite ice cream color? So if you could share that with everyone, that would be great. I'm gonna get started. Oh, there's someone from Bad Homburg. Nice. 30 years, okay. Experience, I think. Anyone else sharing? Let's see. Control. Interesting. Excellent. Pistachio with whipped cream. Okay. Lisbon, partner consultant, 12 years. Okay, Choco. Excellent. All right. So let's get started with the actual content. And this is our agenda for today. So we talk a little bit about the study results, but first and foremost, we want to hear your experience. Do you agree with the findings? Do you have different experiences? How do you work around issues? And the last 15 minutes, we're going to share some recommendations, and also want to suggest a way to kind of deliver more business impact for your customer research profession. A little bit about ourselves. I'm the founder and managing director of Unipro Solutions. I'm a startup. I started last year, exactly a year ago, with my business. I've done consulting and education around the jobs to be done theory for the last 4 years. And I have a passion for everything customer related, so to speak. Florian.
Yes, thank you. Very shortly, yeah, I'm Florian. I'm an independent innovation facilitator, and I got to know jobs to be done about 2.5 years ago through Eckhart. And I was really fascinated because, you know, when you do development or innovation, the point is always that you have to understand what customers really need. And I was struggling a lot with it. And I found really a method that makes a lot of sense for me in understanding what customers need to make progress. That's very shortly me. And yeah, I'm in Kassel, but you read that already.
Excellent. All right, let's take a first look at the research objective. So as I said, we wanted to understand what's the satisfaction with the current tools people use for determining what customers need. There's like a million different methods, a million different tools, a million different ways you can research customers. And we wanted to know what what are you using, and why do you look for maybe for different solutions? Why may you like upgrade to a kind of an electronic way to measure, I don't know, customer satisfaction, something automated or whatsoever. We really wanted to understand what's going on here. But what we found as we researched the researchers was very different. So here are some of the parameters that we that characterize the research that we did. We did interviews with professionals that are in charge of customer research for a product area or a customer segment or a client or their clients, a company's clients, or a company. So we had a little bit of diversity in roles. It was not everybody was like a full-time researcher, but they had some different roles. We also had some international participation. Besides Germany, we had one individual from France and from Israel, which was very helpful because they have different perspective on the topic. And we did the interviews for 45 minutes from mid-November to the end of January. So we had 7 male and 2 female interviewees. And what was also interesting is that we saw perhaps some differences, whether you're male or female and work in this function. The female, I think they have to fight much harder to get attention, to get taken seriously and things like that. It's very unfortunate, but this is something that we've heard. And John is joining as well from the US, from Issaquah. Hi, John.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
John, we started because otherwise we may run out of time. So I'm just talking about the kind of the study parameters, what characterized our research study. As I said, we had some different job roles and titles, 5 product managers, 2 customer researchers, and 2 product management consultants. They came from different sizes of companies. We had some startups, we had enterprise, we had kind of mid-range company, and you can notice some differences clearly. But common to all of these people where they are in charge of doing customer research or finding out what the customer needs, so to speak. The method we used, this is just a fraction of our methodology, but it shows you our wheel of progress, which is a canvas that we use to structure and evaluate customer interviews. Typical jobs to be done interviews we do, we ask people about a purchase or making a decision to apply something new, to change their behavior, and then we capture the whole interview on this board, and you can see it's color-coded, so it's relatively easy to use the data and kind of structure them further, aggregate them, and make decisions. But we'll talk a little bit more about the methodology later. So, any questions yet? No, if you have any questions, as I said, unmute or type it in the chat box. So talking about the study results, and we from all the results, we said, okay, one is only talk about 3 things. One is what are the job functions, which is more or less surprising, but it really depends on the specific role. So let's see what's common, maybe what's different. Then we're going to talk about pains and gains. Of all the 12 elements that we capture, we just focus on emotions and thoughts that are positive and negative related to the role. And then we defined one desire for progress statement. We had different, but we're going to present one that we think is pretty good at telling the story of people and how of customer researchers and how they want to make progress in their profession. Okay, let's take a look at the job functions, and we're going to show them as a tree. So at the top, it's like the Uber job, if you will. In this case, of course, not surprising, find out what customers need. And the subjob or kind of subjobs to the main job is, of course, applying the methodical knowledge and skills. And people have more or less a formal education. We had some people with, of course, they studied this stuff, but some, especially in the smaller companies, in the startups, that kind of self-taught them the skill and the methodology to run, moderate customer research studies, like focus groups, doing interviews, stuff like that. In many companies, this is kind of left up to the individual. So how do you get educated? And we had one guy who said, I have all the freedom in the world to look at new methods, best practices, stuff like that. And in other companies, it's more, there's like an innovation department, they are more prescriptive. Probably they also what they recommend to the customer researcher, they're gonna take it and do it and go to these classes. Of course, we also wanted to know, are people doing customer research on customer jobs? So using the jobs to be done, principles or way of thinking, and some of them did. Some were kind of skeptical a little bit. They thought, well, that's something only for B2B. You cannot find customer jobs in the consumer world. And then we had exactly the opposite. People who think, yeah, we can find customer jobs in the consumer world, but not in the B2B world, which is both is kind of not correct, because there are customer jobs in both the business context and the consumer context. And then, of course, very important job function is to derive insights from the research, and people really struggled. I think, Florian, we may talk a little bit later about this, how people struggle turning what they heard or what they measured into insights, and insights that are actionable. That's not straightforward. Consolidating items, it's not straightforward. It's complicated. People struggle with that. And there was one guy who was kind of more focused on discovering trends, because I think that's a customer expectation. So here he works with clients, so he had to discover trends. Right. Another one that really emerged during all the interviews was like influencing stakeholders. And that talks a little bit about the main issue that we discovered with this study, that there's a disconnect or there's misalignment with stakeholders about the role, about what they do with the findings, about the processes used, all these kinds of things. There's a lot of misalignment. But they felt, all of them, they felt a little bit, well, I'm special because I have special knowledge, I have special skills to find out what customers need. So they act as, and they want to act as thought leaders on the methods. They want to be taken seriously. But as we know, we do customer research, we make recommendations, we build products. Products will not be kind of bought. And then it's like, what's the customer research good for in the first place? And people have really, the stakeholders have doubts. Anyway, so of course they also had, some of them had a role to consult their clients. So when external customers have the kind of needs, they need to consult the clients. Is that really what you want to find out? And also questioning their assumptions. Then we have also as part of influencing is finding resources within the company that support them in the research process. So finding sponsorship is a big thing as well. And some of them, in some companies, they are alone. They feel alone. I'm the only guy who looks after customers or what customers want. And well, they have to find people who will support them, especially when they do interviews. You have to have another person with you. Then, of course, collaborate with other teams and present the findings. Very obvious, so not too surprising. And then an even more difficult role is becoming a recognized authority on customer research to their stakeholders, which is kind of being at the leading edge in the company and exploring what are the new research methods are there best practices, learning from others, learning from thought leaders, recognized people in the industry, going to conferences, getting coaching, but also self-reflect and self-challenge. Because what we need to recognize, I think, is customer research is a difficult discipline. And many of them don't rely on one methodology. They do like 3, 4, 5 different things, from doing interviews, doing customer focus groups, doing quantitative research, doing observations, doing all kinds of things. They don't trust that one methodology. That was also very, very clear to us. Any questions? Does this make sense? Is this surprising, or is this what you expected? Okay.
No, I think
all right.
It's surprising for me.
Okay.
It's exactly what I see and what I do. You don't rely on one single technique.
Yeah.
And jobs to be done is yet, and this is cultural. Jobs to be done is yet a new thing in Portugal.
Yeah.
But this is
jobs,
cultural.
They love jobs to be done, but they also struggle how to apply it. But they love it. They love it, and they love their discipline. They're very proud. I think everyone was very proud of the kind of work they are doing, because they have a passion for customers. Yeah. and really a desire to help the company to be more successful. And but they struggle as well. It's not an easy job. So, and then we had, of course, finding problem solution fit, create product hypothesis, validate product ideas, and make product decisions, or being part of product decisions. Obviously, that also makes sense, especially when you're more in like a product manager or program manager role. You have these responsibilities helping to form a product strategy as well. And then we had, of course, assess market opportunities, so perform a rentability analysis and monitor competition. And then we have also, now we're getting in the space of kind of the smaller, maybe mid-sized to small organizations, where the expectation is also to win new clients or win new customers. So that was also very clear. It's like, hey, help us to be more successful, to grow our customer base and find the right clients for my product, and help create product messaging. So they also have a marketing job. And any questions before we move on to the next part? So this was 100% complete in terms of the job functions. There were some more, but these were the most typical ones. And Florian, I'm going to hand over to you now. He's going to talk more about some of these jobs with their associated pains and gains, because that's also interesting. Looking at the pains and gains in the context of the job. So Florian, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks, Eggert. Please, thank you, perfect. So we're now going to look at the 3 main customer jobs. So find out what customers need, influence stakeholders, and how to become a recognized, authority in customer research. So let's first have a look at find out what customers need. So you see here, we kind of figured some pains and gains. I would like to start with the gains. So you see here, being able to demonstrate evidence. That was really one thing that you say, they have some data to prove, what they kind of discovered. Also having solution independent data. So nothing, that is already somehow, tested by a certain solution, that they have something, before anything is in a solution frame, they have data. And it was also very important, they said, that they have valid, relevant, and useful data to work with. The point is, and Eggert pointed this already a little bit out, but we kind of figured that the people that do customer research, they freaking love doing customer research. They were like really, really passionate about it. That was really interesting. So we're like really on fire. And what they also kind of figured, that when they were allowed and they could do good customer research, they figured, they could have an impact. They managed, okay, we make higher margin because we have a good process. What's on the flip side? On the flip side, where they're really fighting is is one thing, right? They doubt about the right approach to research. Like I think Eckhart said already, they're testing this, they're doing this research method, etc. So they're doing different research methods because they're not sure, which is the right one. And a part of this, they also kind of have a big lack of trust in the results, right? I use this now, is that right? Or should I do the other one? Or so, yeah. Another big thing is, and I don't know who of you know that is, stakeholders are always biased, not always, but they're quite mostly biased. And that's what we kind of got. And to be honest, I know that from my own experience towards certain solutions, right? We have this idea. Can you do customer research to tell us that this is the right idea? That is a huge pain for customer researchers. And the next point here is, that they always need to justify the investment for customer research. No problem to spend money to, I don't know, to go into development. And if it's the third prototype, doesn't matter. But doing upfront research, no, it's too costly, take too long time. We don't do that. And that kind of connects with, the half-hearted support by organizations. Eckhart, can you go one slide, please? So what we always did, we kind of put some voices, I don't know if that's right English, but some O-tones from the interviews. So one was saying, customers don't know what they want when they kind of use research methods, like the one said this and the other one said strange. And here's the point, right? Interviews, surveys, focus group, anything like that are unreliable, rather expensive, time consuming, and less objective. Yeah. Another person said data analytics are more driven by marketing and reporting, not by customer insights. So they're kind of, pushed always from the outset, and they have to deliver instead of that they're actually kind of a lead and saying, come on, we are the guys who should say, what you need. And the last one is, despite doing interviews, I couldn't extract the customer jobs. So here the point is, doing interviews one thing, but getting the right data out is another one. Eckhart, can you go, please move on? Let's go to the next one, influence stakeholders. Here's really one thing that one of the gains is really feeling recognized as an expert by peers. And that is the thing, we come to the lex in a second where they kind of really not recognize at the moment. That's what they want to, they want, and when the influence stakeholders, they want to be, I'm also a person who has to say something, I'm an expert. And that kind of connects again with like feeling valued and respected across the organization. And if that's possible, and then they're quite happy that they're really getting sufficient resources for successful project completion. Again, the flip side, you see there are a lot of lacks. I see the lack of guidance and guardrails on strategy, on product strategy, kind of connects really good with the lack of alignment on strategy development. A lot of them said, they have no fucking clue, I'm sorry for the word, what's the strategy is. How should I develop a product? How should I know what, to look for? And that was a big thing. Either, I think one of the ladies or girls said, either they come in with just blah, blah, or they come in with features, but they have no strategy. That was something really often mentioned. Also, the point here, lack of commitment to spend money, time, and resources kind of fits when you saw before, right? They always have to argue about it. It's like, dealing with stakeholders who have a product agenda. It's a little bit then, like I said, you have an idea that some people, right, said, no, I want this and I want this portfolio, let's do this. But customers say something totally different, doesn't matter, let's do this, because we believe that's the right thing. Here, feeling work is not being trusted. So they also don't trust, kind of doubtful their own work. So they have difficulties to convince their stakeholders. And then on the other side, and we see that, and then the next part, stakeholders also really say, does that make sense? Everybody can do custom interviews. What you're saying, no, I trust my own belief or my own, how I say, experiences. So it's really difficult for them, to get trusted. And that's why it's so hard to convince stakeholders. That's why it's so hard to really justify the value of customer research. And that kind of fits with the lack of appreciation for the customer role or customer research role. Thank you. Next one. Let's have a look at a few statements concerning influence stakeholders. Here's like, yeah, I love this one. Leaders are a lot like kids in a toy store. All that counts is a nice shiny object. And here it's about really, they have this one idea, and that's what they focus on. Doesn't matter what else comes. My leaders told me that anyone conduct customer interviews. Here it's about appreciation. I don't know how you know that. I think I heard the whole thing about marketing also. It's like, yeah, everybody can do it. So it's really about valuing. And I cannot prioritize when there's no direction. Here it's really pointing out the strategy. And the product idea is more important than finding out customer needs. I then have to research or search for the right problem for the product. That's very difficult. So you see kind of the connection here. Thank you very much. Let's go take the last one, please. So here it's becoming a recognized authority on customer research. What they really here kind of hoping to get out, right? It's getting a high self-esteem. Yeah, they want to grow professionally. Yeah, they again here being recognized by leaders. Yeah, and feeling really recognized as an expert. Yeah, throughout the peers. On the flip side, what's there? Yeah, yes. Again, lack of risk-taking regarding new approaches. There are so many approaches out there, and they kind of, got scared about taking things, and they also, most of them don't get as you remember, the funding or the resources to do new tests. So they kind of have to they're stuck at their old stuff. They're acting with authority. They want to actually do more, but from the organization, they have no authority, which is pain. And, the one thing is they feel ignored, or their advice gets ignored. Yeah. They feel they have a lack of trust, which kind of fits. So it's like, yeah, whatever you're saying, it's interesting, but let's do the other way. Yeah. So and here the point, that's the one thing. And the other point is, if something really is good, yeah, most others get the credit. It's not customer research that gets the credit. It's then, I don't know, product development, etc. So this is really a big, we kind of figured that was really emotional, this becoming an authority. We had a lot of talks, which kind of was really interesting to see how people get touched by it. All right. I think, yes, we have again some O-tones. So here, if you're as a product manager, I have only limited impact. Yeah. Introducing a customer research process is an uphill battle all the time, a new one. Yeah. When I raise a concern about a potentially competitive issue, my advice is not taken seriously. Or the last one here, my leadership admitted we lost the customer because they didn't listen to me. So they see, they have really valuable knowledge and input, but it's not been recognized. All right. Yes, and the last one. So we have here kind of, what you do in this kind of process, you find out the jobs and some other stuff, and what you kind of define then as a desired progress. And we have just pointed out one here, right? So when my management pushes for a quick fix, I want to assure that I take the right course of action to deliver better, more precise, compelling results quickly, and not expose our organization to the risk of building something based on assumptions. Yeah? Because they're really into their job. And the point of here, pushes to quick fix, you're solution-based. Well, they say, okay, we need something that they convince our management that whatever shiny object they just see in, that's the wrong way. Yeah, that is something where they don't have answers yet to this. All right, that's it. And that's
it. So we want to stop for a few minutes and hear from you what your experience is. Do you agree with these findings? Have you seen these as well? Have you seen other things that we did not cover? We are happy to send you the full research results, of course, but now we would like to hear from you. So either kind of unmute or write something in the chat if that's more appropriate. So Americo, you said something in the chat. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I was giving opportunity for others to participate. I would say that I can only agree with all these. It's exactly me finding finding customer jobs to be done, or customer needs. That is not exactly my critical issue, but influencing stakeholders is really critical. It's something that it's it opens your eyes when you speak with
the sound. Sorry, I have to interrupt. Does everybody have an issue with the sound? Okay, you're interrupted somehow. Maybe it's a static voice or something. Static with your microphone. Maybe you have to get a little bit closer to it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe now.
Yeah, give it a try. Yeah.
What about now?
It's very unstable.
Yeah, I switched off my video because of that. I was saying that these 3 points are exactly the main issues for me. Finding jobs to be done, it's not a real problem because I'm also a technician, so I don't have that problem. But influencing stakeholders is really critical. This will depend of the education of the professional level that is at the stakeholder side, but many of them don't know they need to be evangelized. The jobs to be done itself has to be evangelized. But well, I think this is cultural because, like in Germany, you guys design, produce, and sell everything, and in Portugal, we only sell things. So this must be, I believe, cultural. The other thing about recognizing about the authority issue, that is also another important issue because, well, if you have someone from product management that comes to table speaking about jobs to be done, oh, that's cool. He's an authority. But if you come from research, you may have applied jobs to be done like 10 times or 20 times. It doesn't matter. You are always secondary to comparing to some profiles. And well, this is my experience.
Okay. Thank you. That's very interesting. There are lots of issues around jobs to be done, I guess. I mean, everybody loves it, yeah, the concept. But when you want to apply it, that's a different story. So any other opinion, any other observation?
Yeah, maybe just a couple of cents from my side. I think all these approaches are great and the results from the study show what's happening in the market. From my point of view, it's far too theoretical because there are two areas that are, in my opinion, are missing out. One is that, first of all, as a service or product provider, you need to be crystal clear about the target audience that you're serving and the problem you're solving or the desire you're going to fulfill, so that you stay focused on your product and your service. The second is that I personally, and we've supported almost 100 solopreneurs and businesses over the last 12 months and had a 100% success rate in growing their business, is that all our clients are very successful they're all coaches, trainers, and consultant companies in focusing on working with the clients and focusing on the living object and stepping away from theoretical approaches. So we call it working on the living project and not on the Reißbrett. Maybe Florian, you can help me on that, or Miko.
On the drawing board.
Yeah. So don't work on the drawing board, work actually as you go with the requests that your clients have. And therefore you have to listen to them, you have to ask the right questions. And I'm not talking about the theoretical clients. I'm talking about the real ones that that address interest, that are raising a request, whether they're new or existing clients. Listen carefully to them, listen to understand and not to reply. Even former clients could be approached. We call this reverse qualifying, as well as with every request for service and product. Sorry for the noise in the background. For every service or product request, develop your organization and develop your product according to the niche that you're in, which is the combination of your target audience and the problem you're solving.
Okay, thank you, Thorsten. I think we could talk forever about this topic, about kind of what's the right approach to research, but I think we all agree on it should not be theoretical. It should be real data, kind of received or observed by real people, and not something that is speculative, hypothetical, or like, yeah, let's take down our assumptions on a whiteboard. I think at least Florian and I mean, this is a real customer researcher has the desire to find out what the real world is and what customers really want. Any other, John, do you want to?
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys have run across this. I recently was working with a founder for a luxury consumer brand, and what you often find with founders is the customer is often the founder themselves, right? They started the company with a vision based upon a problem they themselves experienced, and they continue to drive the vision for what they're designing and building and who they're serving, but it becomes very self-focused, right? They inherently trust their assessment of what the market need is, and that typically attracts that first level of consumers that share the same problems or jobs to be done, and they struggle with pivoting from that in terms of reaching out beyond themselves to take in other customer insights to inform how the product should evolve. So that's, I call that the founder's dilemma, which is kind of that drive to solve a problem, right, is strong at the start, but it's very self-centered, and the product becomes kind of a reflection of themselves, not able to kind of pivot and recognize that to evolve the product, they need to incorporate inputs from others.
Yeah, thank you, John. I couldn't agree more. This is it's an issue of reconciling kind of a vision with reality and the need for real customer research, and that's not. And I think the next part where we talk about recommendations, maybe that there's something that we all could apply and in order to make the process a little bit smoother and not having to fight these kind of battles with your client. That's not desirable, I think.
Yeah, my other observation, probably more with more mid-sized or large organizations, is the general trend towards big data or analytics and data-driven decision making. And I think in those types of organizations, the role of qualitative research can oftentimes be dismissed. And there's sometimes a lack of appreciation for the robustness of an insight that you can get from qualitative research that you don't necessarily get in very quantitative research. And so that, that sometimes is just the culture of the organizations themselves, right? In a very data-driven organization, kind of that aspect of needing to quantify kind of prohibits them from considering other methods of research that may actually be much more impactful and powerful, even though they're not quantified.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's also a cultural thing, and I totally have seen this many times in the past to try to convince people kind of but you have to agree on what you want to find out. So yeah, let's move on. I saw your comment, Florian. I would say let's go rather quickly through some of our recommendations, because I think with a solution that we have in place, we can support those kinds of things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. You can download this, or I'm going to provide this to you. But here are some practical things we thought about. Is first off, when you're a customer researcher in an organization, is raise awareness about your challenges and talk to your stakeholders. Maybe you start a conversation using this report and say, well, other people have these issues as well. Let's take a look at this report. It's kind of neutral. And then we can have a conversation with the leadership, with the peers, maybe with also with clients. Raise awareness for the pains that are typical to other people working in this role. Talk about situations where you perceived a misalignment with your stakeholders. Also really making it concrete, talking about your feelings, what made you not feel well about certain decisions made. We think there's a lot of room for better communication in this space, that people just hold back expressing their true thoughts and feelings. So this would be one, raising awareness. The other one, and I think this goes to the core issue of this kind of discipline of customer research, is business impact. That may have to do with it. In some organizations, I believe very strongly that customer research, market research, has become a mean to itself. People have forgotten about what is the data that you need, what kind of decisions do you want to make based on the data. So it becomes kind of a self-purpose. And this really weakens the position of a customer research and the whole discipline. And I've talked to CEOs who said, no market research. I don't want any market research, right? And if they do it, then it's just a check mark. So we did it, but they don't trust the results like Florian talked about. So I think this is really key. Discuss the business value of customer research. How are you going to use the results? What decisions you want to support? And we're going to suggest on one of the later slides our methodology that we hope kind of shows you how you can connect the research with better decisions. But also get a perspective from your leadership, the peers on the issue at hand, and try to see their point of view. Of course, they need to be heard. You need to be able to understand them. What are the fundamental concerns about customer research, and probably develop a set of rules for business practices. So create a process that you will follow, that you commit to. It's like, this is the way we want to do customer research in the future. This is what we want to spend. This is the time we want to allow for it. We did this at my former employer. It's like they created a customer research process, and that was baked into the product development cycle as well. So there was no discussion that we would go through this process, right? Yeah, publish the rules and get commitment from your stakeholders. I think that's very important, that everybody adheres to that set of rules. Then we have as the third one for customer researchers is just sharpen your skills. Stay up to date on best practices, go to conferences, go to meetups, try to learn from the best in the industry, reflect your own methods, what works well, what does not work very well, where are the opportunities to improve skills, actively plan skills development opportunities. There's so much in the industry, on the internet. You just have to find trustworthy resources, but never stop learning about the discipline. And then also check out some of the advanced methods. So kind of the leading things like what's emerging, the jobs to be done theory. There are lots of books, there are methods, there are tools you can apply. And I think we all agree that jobs to be done is highly useful. And yeah, then Florian, quickly.
I say very quickly a few words because I want to also say something else which I think makes sense. So what we kind of figure for stakeholders, right? We say, okay, communicate your expectation clearly. Okay, so before you start the project, really tell what are your expectations about it so everybody understands. I think that is one big point. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to go deeper in here, please. We're just going to go quickly. The second is really suspend advocating for a specific solution, right? So if you're a stakeholder, you know, and you have an idea, that's good, but keep it for yourself and do customer research, do their job and trust them. Appreciate what they're doing. And next one. And the last one is, you know, build trust and demonstrate appreciation. Here is really, you know, take your customer researchers, say, come on, here, now that is your task, find out what is really useful. Yeah, find out what are the jobs, how can we help our customers, yeah, and really support them here. So these are the 3 tips I kind of rushed through because what I just want to say again, and this is something I think TJ kind of touched again, the point is you have to talk to customers, right? And what I kind of experience is my way, and that's why I thought I kind of really understood jobs to be done quite a while after I had the training. It just took a while. I mean, I talked to customers up front before, right? And product development, but here it's always that you kind of take maybe the need or the desire they have at the moment, right? So it's really, you know, this is what kind of fits to the customer research. They don't know what they want. I take this and I take that. And what I understood and what I think is here really the value to understand, okay, you're not searching directly for something. You look, okay, tell me the last thing, the last method, the last tool, the last purchase you had. Tell me about it. Tell me your story, right? Tell me your story. Why did you bought it? Where did you heard it the first? What motivated you to really buy it? What were your expectations, right? And when you bought the product, you know, how was it the first feeling? You know, did it fit the expectations or what didn't work, right? And then you go next and look for the pains and gains. And where I figured is so interesting because you go away from solutions. Yeah, you just saw, interesting, they're standing there. And what I really love is about, like, you help customers to make progress, right? Every customer is in a different position, right? On the scale of making progress. And here is really to understand, okay, you know, what is actually the main job here? And the fun thing is, you know, the thing with the drill, right? The drill, though, I think everybody knows, right? And we had a fun discussion in LinkedIn. He said, no, I didn't bought I bought a drill, yeah, but it wasn't for no purpose. And I said, no, there was a purpose. No, I had no specific purpose, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he wasn't able to argue. It doesn't matter, right? But the point was at the end, every man needs a drill. That is also a job, right? A social job. A man needs a drill. That seems to be something you have to be recognized, right? So, and I think that is the interesting part, that these emotional, social things are so valuable. And if you understand these, I think then you can really create products that, you know, that create value, that helps the customer to make progress. And I think this is really the magic. I'd say, sorry, but the magic that happens. Yeah, because you're not focused on the solution or the best drill or a different point of hole. Maybe you just, you know, sell the best drill ever for a real man. Yeah, that could also happen. And I think that is so valuable. Sorry for that little dive in, but I wanted to get this.
Yeah, thank you. It's great that you get really emotional. It shows your passion. So now we're gonna move forward to how can we help? Of course, that's kind of our marketing plug in for this demonstration, but we truly believe that we have a methodology that can be really helpful to create this desired business impact, because it's very, very straightforward. It's a customer research process that takes you right to strategy. So when we talk about strategy, what we mean is not only the product or the service or after sales service, but the whole stack of measures you can take to take the customer from the first thought that they may want to have something new to the purchase and past purchase experience. So the whole, people call it the customer journey. So taking care of that. And it's a very, very easy concept behind. So there are people who have like a status quo. They have a habit, right? They use a certain product. They realize they need something, they want something more because something gets broken or doesn't fit any longer, and they need to make this upgrade. So you can see two status on this very simplified concept is the status quo, the habit, and then after they made the purchase, an improved state. And this is what we believe is the main function of any professional in the innovation, in the marketing, in the sales, and those kinds of disciplines, is help people make progress in life. Or if you're in an organization, help all these people in an organization to improve the success of their organization, right? That's our purpose, helping people to make the change. So how do we do this? And we get very, very specific. We do look at, when we do the customer interviews Florian just talked about a past purchase, we look at 12 things. I'm not going to go deeply into these, but you can see them on the slides at the core with customer jobs, pains and gains, some context and some desires, forces and desires. So more things that motivate you or don't demotivate you to go forward. These are 12 things. We don't look at anything else, only these 12 things. And that makes a big difference. And we capture those, as I said, on the wheel of progress. So we structure them. And then we do a number of interviews and aggregate the items, so item by item. And then we use that data to make decisions, to make recommendations, to make choices along these. You can see 4 panels, 4 stages of the customer journey. First one is becoming aware, actively searching, making trade-off decisions. What is the right product for me? And the bottom left is buying, using, user experience. So consuming the solution. So the whole 360 process of that customer journey is covered in the process. So it's customer-centered, it's based on data, it's based on validated data, and it's very prescriptive as how to make decisions. It's a little bit more complicated. It's a 5-step process from building hypothesis, finding the right people for your interviews, selecting the right people, doing the interviews, aggregating, prioritizing, using the data. Very straightforward. It's not that complicated. This is how it looks like in reality. This is actually the project Florian did and I did with the researchers. You can see 6. Yeah, I did a very similar project with John in the finding care space. But this is how, like on a mural board, the data looks like, how we process the data. You can see we start at the left with hypothesis, doing the interviews on the wheel, doing the aggregation, doing prioritization, and using the data. This is something, if you're interested, we are happy to share or happy to demonstrate. It's incredibly efficient. We do these interviews, we evaluate interviews as we do them. So it's like a real-time evaluation of interviews. So in 2 hours, we have an interview fully conducted and analyzed and ready to be kind of aggregated with other interviews. So it's super quick, it's super efficient. And when you make recommendations, they're all based on data. So that's it from my side. So we are up at the time. Do you have any? And there was a marketing part that's now closed. You find more information on our website. So do you have any more thoughts, questions? Anything you want to get rid of? Was this useful to you? Was it a good discussion? Okay, see.
Yeah. It's good to know those issues that people are struggling and be aware of them. It's in your suggestions to handle them. It's very useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for participating. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. We will share the results out, the video once it's done, and the full customer research, so you can use the results if you like.
Thank you.
All right. Then I want to wish everyone a nice evening. Let's stay in touch if possible, and let me know, or Florian, if you're interested in learning more about customer progress design, and good luck with your projects. And yeah, you always meet twice, so hopefully we'll meet again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Ciao, Miko. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I'm going to stop the recording.